him.
I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack-a-ma-gob, it's time for the only news that matters. And Peter Frampton says he was tricked into appearing in the much maligned 1978 jukebox musical film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. During a recent appearance on the Bob Lefsert's podcast, Frampton revealed how he was lured into joining the Beatles-inspired project. Said, I was told by producer Robert Stigwood that Paul McCartney was going to be the savior of the Heartland. When Stigwood said Paul is going to be in the movie, I said, really? Well, if a Beatle is going to be in the movie, you know, he sanctioned it, then it can't be bad. It didn't take long for the reality of the situation to sink in. I fly out to Los Angeles. I go for the first meeting out there. No Paul McCartney. So I was lied to. Then I realized from the first day of shooting, oh, this is a disaster. I didn't walk because I would have been sued to high hell if I left. But we all hated being in the movie. And Stigwood had industry clout thanks to his work with Cream and the Bee Gees, as well as the film Saturday Night Fever and Jesus Christ Superstar. These successes helped him recruit stars for the Sgt. Pepper's movie. In addition to Frampton, they ensembled the cast featuring the Bee Gees, Steve Martin, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, and Earth, Wind & Fire, and Steve Martin. Despite such heavy hitters, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was a critical and commercial flop. Everyone thought we couldn't fail and it would all have been good. The only thing I'll say about it, there was no script, and rest in peace George Martin should have not been the guy to do the music, because imagine doing that with Jeff Emmerich, the Beatles, but you don't have the Beatles. I would imagine they are not going to enjoy it. And yeah, for the most part, nobody did enjoy it. I remember I was a little kid when this movie was released, and I remember it got a lot of promotion. I remember going to see it. I got sucked in, and I hated it, and I still hate it. I own it because, you know, Aerosmith's in it. Earth, Wind & Fire is amazing in the movie. I only bought it for that. I'm a big Alice fan, but no, I did not like his cover of Because and Steve Martin doing Maxwell Silver Hammer. And, you know, the Bee Gees, who I love Peter Frampton, but man, they were terrible in the movie. Doing all those Beatles covers just didn't work. It just sounded so processed and cheesy and horrible and terrible. And it's messed up how they told Peter Frampton, hey, McCartney's in the movie, he's going to save the place. And he's like, oh, well, shit, if Paul's going to be involved in it, then of course I got to get involved in this because, you know, he must approve this, so it must not be bad. You know, and this was the glorious 70s. I'm sure a lot of blow was going around on that set. You had Aerosmith there, you know, doing a lot of drugs, I bet. You know, it's just... I watch that movie like once every 10 years. I will put it on, or even longer than that. And every time I watch it, I'm always horrified. I think it's just so bad. And it's not like Kiss Meets the Phantom where it's so bad, it's so bad it's good. No, it's so bad it's bad. With the little robots and all that crap going on. I just thought it was, yeah, and now that Peter Frampton's saying there was no script, that makes a lot of sense. Because really, I mean, the plot of that movie was like, it had more holes than your underwear. You know, seriously, and I'm the 70s kid. I was raised in the 70s and 80s. But to me, man, the 70s was the best. Everything ruled. But there were exceptions. And one of the exceptions of the 70s that didn't rule was Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band. this was one of those songs back then that, I mean, one of those movies back then. It was like, yeah, you know, there has to be exceptions and everything. But then you had, like, in the 70s, you had Slapshot, you had Marathon Man, The Exorcist, Star Wars, Jaws, greatest movie ever. I can go on and on. The Godfather. You know, it's just amazing, amazing decade of amazing movies. And then there's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Thrown in with all those amazing killer movies. And it totally killed Peter Frampton's career. You know, I remember he released an album after that movie, a couple years after the movie, called Breaking the Rules. That album rules. I love that album with the late, great John Regan on bass, who was also on Fraley's Comet. And I just think it's a killer hard rocking album. And me and John, before John passed away, John's the nicest guy. He's on, you know, my Facebook, and he always wished not only me but everybody a happy birthday. If it was somebody's birthday, he was there to, you know, wish everybody a happy birthday. I got to meet him once. Super nice guy, and so sad that he passed away. Well, he played on that album, Breaking the Rules, and I highly recommend y'all check that out if you don't know that album, because it flopped hard, because whatever Peter Frampton did after Sgt. Pepper, you know, just nobody listened. It was, and also that album, I'm in You, after Frampton Comes Alive, I think that contributed somewhat. I mean, I remember when it was brand new. Yeah, I remember these days, man, way back in the 70s when he first released I'm in You. It was a hit from the power of Frampton Comes Alive. And all I remember was that title track, I'm in You. It's like this little mellow crap. And it did good for a little while. But then, you know, when he did the Sgt. Pepper movie, it didn't matter what he did after that. It was going to fail. And the Bee Gees, I'm not sure. Wasn't Tragedy after? I think the Bee Gees lived a little bit longer. I think Tragedy and Nobody Gets Too Much Heaven No More was after. I may be wrong, but all I know is the Bee Gees then did suffer a huge backlash because of the whole disco sucks thing that I was part of. Yes, I was a little rocker kid, and I even had a t-shirt that had a disco ball on it exploding with a skull inside the disco ball, and it said on the shirt, Death Before Disco. So I was part of that nonsense, you know. I got caught up in it. And I did. I remember when I had a little kid, my friend lent me the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. And I listened to it, and I was like, yeah, this sucks. Fuck this. It's all about rock and roll and hard rock and stuff. But now, I don't think there is a better a pop ballad ever written than How Deep Is Your Love from the Bee Gees. Honestly, I'm not lying. Every time I hear How Deep Is Your Love, like if it comes on my iPod Shuffle, I after I'm done hearing it, I listen to it 3 to 4 times more every single time. I cannot listen to that song one time. It's so beautiful, gorgeous, structured amazingly, but I would have never given it the time of day back when I was a kid, because that song was on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack that I hated. But now I love it, man, and I love a lot of those songs. And here's a side note. There's a band on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack called THRASH. The lead singer of THRASH had my name, Ralph VIERA. We both share the same name. And, yeah, man, and now I own the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and very proud to own it, and I crank it all the time, man. I'm now a big disco fan, except I still can't get into the Village People. As hard as I try, it just doesn't work for me. But ABBA, I think, is the greatest pop band ever. And the Bee Gees are up there as well with the greatest pop ballad ever written, in my opinion. How Deep Is Your Love? What a song, man. But anyway, thank you all for watching The Only News That Matters. And tell me what you think of the movie Sgt. Pepper in the comments below. And do you know that Peter Frampton album, Breaking the Rules. I'd like to know your thoughts on that as well. And any other Peter Frampton album I may not be aware of that's as heavy as Breaking the Rules, I'd like to check it out. And please, everybody, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I would really appreciate that. Ring that little notification bell. And like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.